The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss and Hana Kim stepped into the biggest space station she had ever seen. Celestial Gate Station stretched out before her like a metal city floating in space. Thousands of lights blinked from shops, restaurants, and offices that lined the curved walls. The ceiling was so high that clouds actually formed near the top. But what amazed Hana most were the aliens. She had seen pictures and videos during her training on Earth, but nothing prepared her for seeing them in person. A group of tall, crystal-like beings walked past, their bodies catching the light and throwing rainbows across the floor. Near a food stand, creatures that looked like giant jellyfish floated in the air, changing colors as they talked to each other. Somewhere in the crowd, she spotted beings that seemed to be made of living metal, their skin shining like mirrors. Hana adjusted the strap of her small bag and walked forward. She wore the standard Earth diplomatic uniform, a simple blue jacket and black pants. Compared to the colorful robes and strange clothing of the aliens around her, she felt very plain. The customs area was ahead, marked by bright signs in dozens of different languages. Hana could read the English and Korean versions, but the others looked like nothing she had ever seen. Some were made of dots and lines. Others seemed to move and shift as she watched them. As she walked toward the customs checkpoint, she noticed a group of reptilian aliens pointing at her. They stood about 7 feet tall with dark green scales and yellow eyes. Their uniforms marked them as station security officers. One of them, who had silver markings on his scales, was talking loudly enough for everyone around to hear. "Look at this one," the silver-marked alien said, his voice carrying clearly across the busy area. "Another human. They get smaller every time." The other reptilian aliens laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. More aliens began to look in Hana's direction. A group of insect-like creatures clicked their mouthparts together in what Hana guessed was their version of laughter. The floating jellyfish aliens pulsed with dark red colors. Hana kept walking, her face calm and professional. During her training, they had warned her this might happen. Humans were new to galactic society. Only 50 years since first contact. Many aliens still saw Earth as a backward planet full of primitive people. "I heard they still use metal tools." One of the insect aliens clicked loudly. "Metal, can you believe it?" "My cousin works in the human section of the station," another reptilian officer added. "He says they break furniture just by sitting on it. They don't know their own strength, but they're still weak compared to real species." A new voice joined in. This one came from a tall, thin alien with gray skin and 4 arms. "I saw a human yesterday trying to lift a cargo container. It took 3 of them to move what my nephew could carry alone, and he's just a child." The crowd of aliens grew larger. More species joined in the mockery. Hana recognized some of them from her training materials. The 4-armed ones were called Nexians, known for being excellent engineers. The jellyfish-like aliens were ethereals, famous for their advanced technology. The insect creatures were hive minds, where each individual was connected to thousands of others. All of them were laughing at her. "Earth," snorted the silver-marked reptilian. "I looked it up once. Single moon, yellow star, mostly water. Sounds boring. No wonder they never developed proper technology. They still use chemical rockets. An ethereal pulsed in bright orange, the color of amusement. "Chemical rockets!" "We gave up those toys 10,000 years ago." Hana reached the customs line and took her place behind a family of blue-skinned aliens. She could still hear the conversation behind her, but she focused on staying calm. This was her first assignment as Earth's newest diplomatic representative. She couldn't let them see that their words bothered her. The truth was, they did bother her a little. Not because they hurt her feelings, but because some of what they said was true. Earth was behind other planets in many ways. Their spaceships were slower, their computers less powerful, their cities smaller. Hana had grown up knowing that humanity was playing catch-up with the rest of the galaxy. But she also knew something these aliens didn't seem to understand. Humans learned fast. In just 50 years, they had gone from never seeing an alien to having representatives in the Galactic Council. Earth scientists worked day and night to understand new technologies. Human engineers were already improving on some alien designs. Still, she kept these thoughts to herself as the line moved forward. "You know what I heard?" The silver-marked reptilian continued, apparently not done with his entertainment. "I heard that humans actually fight each other. Not for territory or resources, but for ideas." "How primitive is that?" This brought a new wave of laughter from the growing crowd. Several aliens had now stopped their own business just to listen and point at Hana. Physical violence over concepts. clicked one of the insect aliens. Their brains must be even smaller than their bodies. A new alien joined the conversation. This one was enormous, easily 12 feet tall, with rock-like skin and glowing red eyes. Hana didn't recognize the species, but the way other aliens stepped back respectfully told her they were someone important. Humans, the giant alien rumbled in a voice like distant thunder. I met one once years ago. Weak little thing, barely came up to my knee. It kept apologizing for everything, even things that weren't its fault. No spine at all? That sounds about right, the silver-marked reptilian agreed. I bet this one will start crying if we keep talking about her species. More laughter echoed through the customs area. Hana noticed that some aliens weren't joining in. A few looked uncomfortable with the mockery, but none of them spoke up to defend her. She didn't blame them. Why would they risk making enemies over a human they didn't know? The line moved again, and Hana was now only 2 aliens away from the scanning checkpoint. She could see the bioscanner clearly now, a smooth, dark surface about the size of a dinner plate. Every being who wanted to enter the main station had to place their hand, paw, tentacle, or whatever they used for manipulating objects onto the scanner. It would read their genetic information, confirm their identity, and check for any dangerous diseases or hostile intentions. Behind her, the reptilian officer was still talking. I wonder what the scanner will make of her. Probably just register harmless primitive and wave her through. If it can read her at all, added one of his companions. Human genetics are so simple the scanner might think she's a pet that got loose. This brought the biggest laugh yet. Even some of the aliens who had seemed uncomfortable before cracked smiles at this joke. Hana felt her cheeks grow warm, but she kept her expression neutral. The alien in front of her, one of the blue-skinned family, finished their scan and walked through. Now it was Hana's turn. She stepped up to the scanner and looked at the customs officer manning the station. This alien was different from the others she had seen, taller and thinner with pale purple skin and large, kind eyes. The officer gave her a professional nod. Welcome to Celestial Gate Station, the officer said in accented but clear English. Please place your dominant hand on the scanner and state your name and purpose for visiting. Behind Hana, the crowd of watching aliens quieted down, eager to see the show. Hana Kim, she said clearly, placing her right hand on the smooth surface of the scanner. Earth Diplomatic Corps. I'm here for assignment to the Galactic Council Cultural Exchange Program. The scanner began to glow with a soft blue light. Hana felt a slight tingling sensation as it read her genetic code, her planetary origin, her health status, and various other biological markers. This was routine for every visitor to the station. What happened next was not routine at all. The blue glow flickered. The tingling sensation grew stronger. The scanner's light began to pulse faster and faster. Then everything went wrong. The scanner's blue light flickered like a dying flame. Hana kept her hand pressed against the smooth surface, unsure if she should pull away or wait. The tingling sensation grew stronger, almost like tiny electric shocks running up her arm. The customs officer frowned at his control panel. He tapped a few buttons, but nothing changed. The blue light continued to pulse in an uneven rhythm. Behind Hana, the reptilian officers were still chuckling. Even the scanner is confused by the primitive, the silver-marked one said. It probably doesn't know what to do with such basic genetics. But their laughter began to fade as the scanner's behavior grew more strange. The blue light was now flickering rapidly, almost strobing. A low humming sound started to come from the machine, growing louder with each passing second. The purple-skinned customs officer touched his earpiece and spoke in a language Hana didn't recognize. His voice sounded worried. Other officers at nearby scanning stations began to look over, their expressions shifting from casual interest to concern. Suddenly, the blue light stopped flickering. For a moment, everything was quiet except for the normal sounds of the busy station, voices talking, footsteps walking, and the distant hum of air recycling systems. Then the scanner exploded with red light. Warning sirens began wailing throughout the customs area. The red light from the scanner was so bright that aliens nearby covered their eyes or turned away. Emergency lights started flashing on the ceiling. The humming sound from the machine became a loud, piercing whine. Hana jerked her hand back from the scanner, finally breaking contact. But the red light didn't stop. If anything, it grew brighter. Words began appearing on the scanner's display screen. At first, they were in alien languages that Hana couldn't read. The text scrolled rapidly, changing from one script to another as if the machine was cycling through every language in its database. The crowd of aliens that had been mocking Hana was no longer laughing. They were backing away from the scanner, their faces showing fear and confusion. The silver-marked reptilian officer's yellow eyes were wide with shock. Finally, the text on the screen settled on Galactic Standard, the common language used for official business throughout the galaxy. But what it said made no sense to Hana. Species human appeared first in large red letters that pulsed like a heartbeat. That part was normal. But then came more text that made the aliens around her gasp. Classification Nightmareworlder. The words were bigger now, taking up the entire screen. The red light grew even brighter, casting everything in a crimson glow. More text appeared below. Threat level Omega, do not engage. Extreme caution advised. The customs area was now in complete chaos. Aliens were shouting in dozens of different languages. Some were running toward the exits. Others stood frozen in place, staring at the scanner's display in horror. Hana read the words again, certain she was misunderstanding something. Nightmareworlder, threat level Omega? That couldn't be right. She was just a scientist and diplomat from Earth. She had never hurt anyone in her life. More text scrolled across the screen. Deathworld survivor. Environmental adaptation. Extreme. Physical capabilities. Beyond standard parameters. Contact Council authority immediately. The purple-skinned customs officer was now talking rapidly into his communication device, his voice high with panic. Around the customs area, security stations were lighting up with warning signals. The sound of emergency vehicles could be heard approaching from other parts of the station. The family of blue-skinned aliens who had been in line in front of Hana were now pressed against the far wall, their children hiding behind their parents. The giant alien who had boasted about meeting a weak human was backing away slowly, his glowing red eyes never leaving Hana. But it was the reptilian officers who showed the most dramatic change. The silver-marked one who had been leading the mockery was now pale green instead of his normal dark color. His hands were shaking as he reached for his weapon, but he seemed afraid to actually draw it. "This can't be right," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the alarms. "The scanner must be broken. She's just a human. Look at her." The other reptilian officers didn't seem convinced. They were all staring at Hana as if she had suddenly grown claws and fangs. One of them was making a gesture that Hana's cultural training had taught her was a ward against evil spirits. The insect-like aliens were clicking their mandibles rapidly, which Hana remembered was a sign of extreme agitation in their species. The floating jellyfish creatures had turned colors she had never seen before, deep purples and blacks that pulsed with urgent warnings. Even more disturbing was how some of the larger, more powerful-looking aliens were reacting. Species that had seemed confident and proud were now backing away from her with obvious fear. A group of the crystalline beings were vibrating at frequencies that created a sound like breaking glass. Hana stood in the middle of it all, completely confused. She looked down at herself, wondering if something had changed that she couldn't see. She was still wearing her simple blue diplomatic jacket. She was still the same person who had eaten breakfast that morning in her small apartment on Earth. The scanner's display changed again. Warning, subject from Class 1 Deathworld. Survival rating, impossible, evolutionary pressure. Maximum. Recommend immediate isolation protocols. Station security officers were now arriving, but they weren't approaching Hana. Instead, they were setting up a wide perimeter around the scanner area and directing civilians to move to safe distances. Their weapons were drawn, but Hana noticed they were all pointing at the floor, as if the officers were afraid to aim them directly at her. A new announcement echoed through the customs area, broadcast in multiple languages. When it reached Galactic Standard, Hana could understand it. Attention all station personnel. Code Omega security alert in Customs Base 7. All non-essential personnel evacuate immediately. Diplomatic emergency protocols are now in effect. Station Commander Theos is en route. Hana's confusion was growing into worry. Diplomatic emergency protocols? She had never heard of those before, and her training had covered many different types of situations. The purple-skinned customs officer was still at his station, though his hands were shaking as he worked his controls. He kept glancing at Hana nervously, as if he expected her to do something dangerous at any moment. Excuse me, Hana called to him, raising her voice to be heard over the alarms. I think there might be a mistake. The scanner seems to be malfunctioning. The officer flinched when she spoke, and several nearby aliens moved even further away. The silver-marked reptilian made a sound that was almost like a whimper. No mistake, the customs officer managed to say, his voice trembling. The scanner is working perfectly. It always works perfectly. That's why we use it. But this doesn't make sense, Hana insisted. I'm from Earth, we're a peaceful species. We just joined the galactic community 50 years ago. How can the scanner say I'm from a place called a nightmare world? The customs officer's large eyes grew even wider. You don't know? He whispered. Know what? Before the officer could answer, a new group of figures appeared at the edge of the security perimeter. These weren't regular station security. They were wearing formal robes and moved with the authority of high-ranking officials. At their head was the tallest alien Hana had ever seen. The figure stood at least 10 feet high and resembled a walking tree. Its bark-like skin was dark brown with silver patterns that seemed to shift and flow. Its face was ancient and wise, with deep-set eyes that glowed with a soft green light. Smaller branches grew from its arms and shoulders, covered in leaves that rustled even though there was no wind. This was clearly someone very important. As the tree-like alien approached, every other being in the customs area bowed or made gestures of respect. The scanner's alarms finally fell silent. The red light faded to a dim glow, but the words on the display remained, still pulsing their warning. Nightmareworlder, do not engage. The ancient tree being stopped at the edge of the security perimeter and studied Hana with those glowing green eyes. When it spoke, its voice was like wind through old forests, deep and full of authority. Dr. Hana Kim of Earth, it said, somehow knowing her name and title. We need to talk. Station Commander Theos moved with slow, careful steps toward Hana. His tree-like form was impressive and calming at the same time. As he walked, the security officers stepped aside to create a clear path. The other aliens in the customs area watched in complete silence. Please remain calm, Dr. Kim, Theos said in his deep, forest wind voice. You are not in any trouble, but we need to move you to a safer location where we can talk privately. Hana looked around at the crowd of frightened aliens. Some were still backing away from her, while others watched from behind security barriers that the officers had quickly set up. The silver-marked reptilian officer was now sitting on the floor, his legs apparently too weak to hold him up. I don't understand what's happening, Hana said. Why is everyone so scared? The scanner said things about me that can't be true. Theos nodded slowly. The scanner told the truth, Dr. Kim. That is exactly the problem. Come with me, please. My security team will escort us. The security team that approached was unlike any Hana had seen before. They wore special armor that covered their entire bodies, and they moved with careful, respectful distance. But Hana noticed something strange. They weren't trying to protect others from her. They were trying to protect her from the panic around them. As they walked through the station corridors, Theos began to explain. Dr. Kim, what do you know about Earth's official classification in our galactic databases? Earth is listed as a Class M garden world, Hana replied, remembering her training materials. Suitable for many different species, peaceful, recently contacted. That is what we tell humans, Theos said quietly. It is not the complete truth. They entered a lift that took them high up into the station's command section. The walls here were made of a clear material that let them see out into space. Stars stretched in every direction, and Hana could see ships arriving and leaving the station's many docking bays. Commander Theos, Hana said as they walked down a quiet hallway. What did the scanner mean when it called me a Nightmareworlder? Theos stopped walking and turned to face her. His ancient eyes studied her carefully. Dr. Kim, in our galactic classification system, we rate planets based on how dangerous they are to life. Most inhabited worlds are Class A or Class B. These are safe, peaceful places where life can grow easily. What class is Earth really? Hana asked, though she was beginning to fear the answer. Earth is a Class 13 death world, Theos said simply. One of the most hostile planets we have ever discovered that still supports intelligent life. Hana stared at him. That's impossible. I grew up on Earth. It's a beautiful place. Yes, we have some problems, but it's not a nightmare. They entered a large office with windows that looked out over the main station hub. Theos gestured for Hana to sit in a chair that automatically adjusted to her size. He remained standing, his branches swaying slightly. Dr. Kim, let me explain what makes Earth so terrifying to the rest of the galaxy, Theos began. Your planet's gravity is more than 3 times the standard that most species consider normal. The atmospheric pressure at your sea level would crush the majority of galactic citizens within minutes. Hana frowned. But that's just normal for us. Exactly, Theos said. That is what makes humans so remarkable and so frightening. Your sun produces radiation that would kill 89% of known species within hours. Your weather systems generate storms with enough power to destroy our cities. Your planet has earthquakes that can reshape entire continents. Every planet has weather and earthquakes. Hana protested. Theos activated a holographic display that showed images of Earth. Hana saw her home planet as she had never seen it before, none from the perspective of alien scientists. Studying it from space, this is Hurricane Katrina from your year, 2005, Theos said, showing a massive storm system. The energy released by this single storm was greater than the total annual power production of 50 civilized worlds. The display changed to show other images. This is Mount Everest, your planet's highest mountain. The atmospheric pressure at its peak would cause most aliens to lose consciousness immediately. Yet humans climb it for recreation. Hana watched the images with growing amazement. I never thought about it that way. This is the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of your oceans, Theos continued. The pressure there would instantly crush any spacecraft we could build. Yet Earth creatures live there naturally. The display showed deep-sea creatures that Hana recognized from nature documentaries. But seeing them through alien eyes made them look like monsters from nightmares. Your planet's tectonic activity is so violent that continents regularly crash into each other with enough force to create mountain ranges, Theos explained. Most civilized worlds have stable geology. Earth is essentially a ball of molten rock with a thin crust that constantly breaks apart and reforms. But we've adapted to all of this, Hana said. It's just our environment. That is precisely what terrifies the galaxy, Theos replied. You have not just adapted, you have thrived. Humans are the only known species to evolve on a class death world and develop advanced civilization. The holographic display changed again, now showing comparison charts between humans and other galactic species. The differences were shocking. Human bone density is 4 times greater than the galactic average. Theos read from the data. Human muscle fiber is capable of generating forces that most species require mechanical assistance to achieve. Human pain tolerance is rated as impossible by our medical standards. Hana looked at her own hands, seeing them in a new light. Are you saying we're stronger than other species? Much stronger. A human child could accidentally injure most adult aliens simply by playing too roughly. An average human adult could defeat our strongest warriors without even trying very hard. The display showed more data that made Hana's head spin. Human endurance capabilities, temperature tolerance, healing rates. Everything was far beyond what other species considered possible. There's more, Theos continued. Earth's ecosystem is based on predator-prey relationships so violent that we study them as examples of impossible survival conditions. Your ancestors had to fight for every meal, defend against creatures that could kill them easily, and survive in conditions that change constantly. Every species had to evolve, Hana said weakly. Not like this, Theos replied. He showed her images of other homeworlds. They were peaceful, stable places where evolution had been a gradual, gentle process. Most species evolved on worlds where cooperation and intelligence were enough for survival. Humans evolved on a world that required cooperation, intelligence, and the ability to fight constantly just to see another day. Hana was beginning to understand why the aliens in the customs area had been so frightened. So when they see a human, they see a creature from their worst nightmares. A creature that survived conditions they cannot even imagine, Theos confirmed. A creature whose children play in environments that would kill them. A creature whose elderly live longer and healthier lives than their own adults. The holographic display now showed Earth's moon. Your moon is another impossibility, Theos said. It is so large that it should have torn your planet apart millions of years ago. Instead, it created tidal forces that helped shape your evolution. Most worlds have small moons or no moons at all. Is that why you kept the truth from us? Hana asked. Because you were afraid we would become conquerors? Theos was quiet for a long moment. We have encountered 3 other Death World species in galactic history, he finally said. Two of them became galactic empires that had to be stopped by massive alliances. The third was destroyed by fearful neighbors before they could become a threat. And humans? Humans are the first Deathworld species to be genuinely peaceful. You could have conquered half the galaxy by now if you had wanted to. Instead, you asked to join our community as equals. You share your knowledge freely. You help other species solve their problems. Hana felt a strange mix of pride and sadness. So Earth really is a nightmare world. To us, yes, Theos admitted. But to humans, it is home. And that difference in perspective might be exactly what the galaxy needs. Through the office windows, Hana could see aliens going about their daily business on the station. They seemed so fragile now, so delicate. She had never thought of herself as dangerous, but she was beginning to understand that her very existence was proof of humanity's incredible strength. What happens now? She asked. Now we help you understand your true nature, Theos said. And we hope that understanding will help you use your incredible abilities to protect the galaxy, instead of conquering it. Hana nodded slowly. She was no longer just a diplomat from Earth. She was a representative of the most dangerous species in known space, and somehow, that made her mission more important than ever. Word of what happened at the customs scanner spread through Celestial Gate Station, faster than Hana could have imagined. By the time she and Commander Theos finished their conversation, crowds of aliens had gathered in the corridors outside his office. Some came out of curiosity, others out of fear, but all wanted to see the human from the nightmare world. As they walked back toward the main station levels, Hana noticed how differently the aliens treated her now. Where before they had ignored her or mocked her, now they pressed themselves against the walls as she passed. Parents pulled their children behind them. Shop owners stepped back into their stores. This is going to take some getting used to, Hana said quietly to Theos. Change is never easy, the tree-like commander replied, but truth is better than ignorance. They were making their way toward the diplomatic quarters when a loud voice called out from behind them. Wait just a moment. Hana turned to see a young reptilian alien pushing through the crowd. He was smaller than the security officers from the customs area, with bright green scales that marked him as quite young for his species. Golden jewelry covered his arms and neck, showing that he came from wealth. You are the human, yes? The young reptilian said as he approached. His accent was thick, and he spoke galactic standard with the confidence of someone who had never been told no. I am Dr. Hana Kim. Hana replied politely. The young alien laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the station walls. Dr. Hana Kim from the terrible nightmare world. I am Zixron, son of Trade Minister Vextal of the Valexian Empire, and I think your scanner was broken. Several aliens in the crowd made nervous sounds. Commander Theos stepped forward slightly. His ancient eyes focused on the young Valexian. Young Zixron, Theos said carefully. Perhaps this is not the best time for— No. Zixron interrupted, waving a clawed hand dismissively. I want to see proof. This small, weak creature is supposed to be from some terrible death planet. Look at her. She barely comes up to my shoulder. It was true. Hana stood about 5.5 feet tall, while Zixron was nearly 7 feet. His scales were thick and strong-looking, and his claws were sharp enough to cut metal. To anyone watching, he looked far more dangerous than she did. I have studied human anatomy, Zixron continued loudly, making sure everyone in the growing crowd could hear him. Their bones are thin. Their skin has no natural armor. They have no claws, no fangs, no natural weapons at all. How can such pathetic creatures be dangerous? Murmurs ran through the crowd of watching aliens. Some seemed to agree with Zixron's logic. Others looked nervous about challenging the scanner's results. Hana felt embarrassed but tried to stay diplomatic. I understand your doubts. I have them too. But the scanner seemed very certain about— Scanners can malfunction, Zixron said with a sneer. I propose a simple test. If humans are really so strong and dangerous, prove it. That's not necessary, Theos began, but Zixron cut him off again. I challenge this human to a simple contest of strength, the young Valexian announced. When I win, we will know the scanner was wrong and we can all go back to treating humans as the weak primitives they really are. The crowd grew larger as word of the challenge spread. Aliens pressed closer, eager to see what would happen. Some held up recording devices to capture the event. Hana looked at Commander Theos, who seemed torn between stopping the challenge and allowing it to proceed. Finally, he nodded slowly. If Dr. Kim agrees and if we can ensure her safety, perhaps a small demonstration would be educational for everyone. Theos said. My safety? Hana asked, confused. Theos looked at her seriously. Dr. Kim, I need you to understand something very important. The gravity here on the station is set to galactic standard, which is comfortable for most species. For you, it is approximately 1/3 of Earth's gravity. Hana blinked in surprise. She had wondered why everything felt slightly easier here, why she felt so light on her feet. 1/3? But I feel normal. That is exactly the point, Theos replied. Your body is adapted to much stronger gravitational forces. Here you are essentially superhuman in your physical capabilities. Zixron laughed again. Superhuman. Listen to this old tree making excuses for the primitive. Fine. Let us test this gravity theory too. They moved to a large open area in the station's central hub. This space was normally used for cultural events and public gatherings. Station security quickly set up barriers to keep the growing crowd at a safe distance. Commander Theos activated a control panel that could adjust the local gravity in the testing area. We will start with the station's normal gravity, he announced. This is 0.31 Earth standard, which is comfortable for most galactic species. Hana and Zixron stood in the center of the testing area. The young Valexian moved easily, his powerful legs carrying him with confidence. Hana noticed that she did feel unusually light, almost like she could jump higher than normal. Now, Theos said, I will increase the gravity gradually. Please tell me when it becomes difficult to move. The gravity began to increase. At 0.5 Earth standard, some of the lighter alien species in the crowd began to look uncomfortable. At 0.7, Zixron's confident posture began to change. His shoulders hunched slightly and his breathing became more labored. This is getting quite heavy, Zixron admitted, though he tried to hide his discomfort. Hana, meanwhile, felt perfectly fine. In fact, as the gravity approached Earth normal, she began to feel more like herself. How are you feeling, Dr. Kim? Theos asked. Much better, actually, Hana replied honestly. More comfortable. At 0.8 Earth gravity, Zixron was clearly struggling. His proud posture had collapsed and he was breathing hard. Several other aliens in the crowd were now wearing mechanical support suits just to remain standing. This is quite challenging, Zixron gasped. We're still only at 80% of Earth's normal gravity, Theos announced to the crowd. Many aliens made sounds of disbelief. At 0.9 Earth gravity, Zixron fell to his knees. His breathing was now labored and painful sounding. I cannot. This is impossible, he wheezed. Hana walked over to him easily, moving as if the increased gravity didn't affect her at all. Are you okay? Do you need help? The sight of the small human woman walking normally in gravity that had brought the large, powerful Valexian to his knees sent a shock through the watching crowd. Gasps and exclamations echoed through the area in dozens of languages. Let's try the strength test now, Theos said, lowering the gravity back to station normal so Zixron could recover. Station engineers brought out a standard strength testing device, a metal bar connected to sensors that would measure the force applied to it. This was a common piece of equipment used in gyms and training facilities throughout the galaxy. Zixron went first. Once he had caught his breath, he gripped the bar with both hands and pulled with all his strength. The display showed his maximum force output, which was quite impressive by galactic standards. The crowd murmured approvingly. Very good, Theos said, reading the display. That is well above the galactic average. Then it was Hana's turn. She approached the testing device uncertainly. I'm not really that strong, she said. I don't work out much. She gripped the bar and pulled. The display immediately showed a number that was much higher than Zixron's result. But Hana was barely trying. Pull harder, Theos encouraged. Hana applied more force, still not straining herself. The numbers on the display climbed rapidly. When they passed twice Zixron's result, the young Valexian's eyes went wide with shock. That's impossible, Zixron whispered. I'm still not pulling very hard, Hana said, confused by the reactions around her. Dr. Kim, Theos said carefully, could you show us your maximum strength? Hana shrugged and pulled with real effort. The display's numbers climbed so high that several aliens in the crowd cried out in alarm. When she let go, the final reading showed a force output nearly 5 times greater than Zixron's impressive result. The testing area fell completely silent. Even the normal background noise of the station seemed muted. Zixron stared at the display, then at Hana, then back at the display. How? He asked weakly. I honestly don't know, Hana replied. I've never thought of myself as strong. Commander Theos addressed the crowd. This is why Earth is classified as a nightmare world. Dr. Kim considers herself physically average by human standards. She has never received special strength training. This is simply what a normal human can do. The implications of this statement rippled through the crowd. If an average human was this strong, what could a trained human soldier accomplish? What about human athletes? The questions were too frightening for many aliens to contemplate. Zixron slowly stood up, his earlier arrogance completely gone. I apologize, Dr. Kim, and I apologize to your entire species. I did not understand. Hana smiled kindly at him. It's okay. I didn't understand either until today. As the crowd began to disperse, aliens looked at Hana with a new mixture of awe and fear. She was no longer just a curious primitive from a backward planet. She was living proof that the galaxy contained wonders and terrors beyond their imagination. And the most terrifying thing of all was that she seemed completely unaware of her own power. The news of Hana's demonstration spread through Celestial Gate Station like wildfire. Within hours, every alien on the station knew about the human who had casually displayed impossible strength and endured crushing gravity as if it were nothing. But more importantly, word was traveling through the galactic communication networks to every corner of known space. Hana sat in her assigned diplomatic quarters, looking out at the stars through the large window. The room was comfortable but felt strange after everything that had happened. She was still trying to understand how her entire view of humanity had changed in a single day. A soft chime indicated someone was at her door. When she opened it, she found Commander Theos waiting outside, but he was not alone. Behind him stood a figure that made Hana's breath catch in her throat. This being was unlike anything she had ever seen. It appeared to be made of pure energy, constantly shifting between different colors and shapes. Sometimes it looked almost human. Other times it resembled flowing water or dancing flames. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Dr. Kim, Commander Theos said formally, I would like you to meet High Counselor Veltar, the eldest member of the Galactic Council and representative of the Luminar Collective. Hana bowed respectfully, remembering her diplomatic training. It's an honor to meet you, High Counselor, the energy being pulsed with warm golden light. The honor is mine, Dr. Kim. I have traveled here specifically to speak with you about today's events and to offer an apology on behalf of the entire Galactic Council. An apology? Hana asked, confused. For what? For 50 years of deception, Veltar replied, the energy form shifting to a more stable, human-like shape. Please, may we come in? What I have to tell you will take some time. They settled in Hana's sitting area, though Veltar simply floated above one of the chairs rather than sitting. Commander Theos remained standing, his tree-like form casting gentle shadows in the room's soft lighting. Dr. Kim, Veltar began, what happened today was not an accident. The scanner worked exactly as it was designed to work. The truth is, we have known about Earth's real nature since the moment we first made contact with your species. Hana leaned forward. Then why hide it from us? Veltar's energy form shifted to cooler blue tones. Because we were afraid. Not just of what humans might do, but of what the galaxy might do to humans if they knew the truth. The High Counselor gestured, and holographic images appeared in the air between them. They showed various alien species and their homeworlds. In our galactic history, we have encountered exactly 3 other species from what we classify as death worlds. Veltar continued. The first was the Krexthul Empire. They came from a planet where survival required constant warfare. When they joined galactic society, they saw other species as weak prey to be conquered. The holographic display showed images of massive reptilian creatures in advanced battle armor, standing over defeated alien armies. The Krexthul War lasted for 200 years and resulted in the destruction of 47 civilizations before we could stop them, Veltar explained. The second Death World species was the Void Hunters. They came from a planet of eternal darkness where only the strongest survived. They saw the galaxy as a hunting ground. More images appeared showing shadowy creatures that seemed to absorb light itself. The pictures of their attacks were too disturbing for Hana to look at for long. The Void Hunter conflict lasted only 50 years, but they eliminated entire star systems before we could develop weapons capable of stopping them, Veltar said. After that, many council members wanted to establish a policy of immediate elimination for any species discovered on a death world. What about the third species? Hana asked quietly. Veltar's energy form dimmed noticeably. The Talvik never got the chance to become conquerors. When their true nature was discovered, a coalition of fearful species attacked their homeworld first. The entire Talvik civilization was destroyed in a single day. Hana felt sick. You thought humans might become conquerors too. Many council members believed it was inevitable, Veltar admitted. When our first contact team discovered Earth, the initial reports were classified at the highest levels. The planet's hostility was beyond anything we had previously documented. The fact that intelligent life had not only survived there but had developed advanced technology seemed impossible. Commander Theos spoke up. The first contact team required environmental suits just to survive in what you would consider mild spring weather. 3 of our specialists died during the landing, overcome by conditions that humans experience as normal. Veltar continued the story. But then something unexpected happened. When we established communication with human governments, we discovered something that had never been true of the previous Death World species. What was that? Hana asked. Humans were genuinely peaceful, Veltar said, the energy form brightening to warm gold again. Not just capable of peace, but actively seeking it. Your first questions were not about conquest or territory, but about friendship and knowledge sharing. The holographic display changed to show scenes from early human-alien contact. Hana saw images of human diplomats and scientists working alongside various alien species, sharing information and technology freely. The Council faced an unprecedented decision, Veltar explained. We could reveal the truth about Earth and risk panic throughout the galaxy, or we could attempt something that had never been tried before. Gradual integration of a Death World species through peaceful means. So you lied to us, Hana said, though her tone was more understanding than accusatory. We withheld information, Veltar corrected gently. We told humans that Earth was classified as a garden world to prevent panic on both sides. We introduced human technology slowly to avoid shocking other species, and we watched carefully to see if humans would maintain their peaceful nature as they became more powerful. And what have you learned? Hana asked. Veltar's form pulsed with what Hana was beginning to recognize as amusement. That humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and also the most protective. You have capabilities that could easily conquer half of known space, but you use those capabilities to help other species solve their problems. Commander Theos pulled up new holographic displays. In the 50 years since contact, humans have provided disaster relief to 47 different worlds. Human engineers have solved infrastructure problems that had plagued civilizations for centuries. Human doctors have developed cures for diseases that were previously considered incurable. Your military forces, Veltar added, have been used exclusively for peacekeeping missions and protecting other species from threats they cannot handle themselves. Not once have humans used their superior capabilities for conquest or territorial expansion. Hana was beginning to understand. You've been testing us. We have been learning from you, Veltar corrected. And what we have learned is that perhaps the galaxy has been thinking about Death World species incorrectly. The previous species we encountered were shaped by their harsh worlds to become predators. Humans were shaped by Earth to become protectors. How so? Hana asked. Commander Theos answered. Humans evolved in small groups that had to cooperate to survive impossible conditions. Your instinct is not to dominate others, but to protect your group and include others in that protection. When humans see other species as weak or vulnerable, your first impulse is to help them, not to exploit them. Veltar's energy form shifted to display images of human families, communities, and societies. Your species developed concepts like adoption, charity, and selfless service that are rare in the galaxy. You risk your own lives to save complete strangers. You share resources even when you have little to spare. But today's demonstration changes everything, Hana said. Now everyone knows what humans really are. Yes, Veltar agreed. And that presents both an opportunity and a challenge. The galaxy now knows that humans are incredibly powerful, but today also showed them something else equally important. What's that? That humans don't know they're powerful, Commander Theos replied. You were genuinely confused by Zixron's reaction to your strength. You had no idea that the gravity test would be difficult for him. Your lack of awareness of your own capabilities is actually your greatest strength, Veltar explained further. Species that know they are superior often become arrogant and domineering. Humans are superior but remain humble and helpful. That combination is unprecedented in galactic history. A new chime sounded and Hana's communication device activated. A message appeared on the screen from her colleague back on Earth. Dr. Kim, the message read, Dr. Minho here. Just wanted to let you know I'll be arriving at the station tomorrow to assist with your mission. Looking forward to working together again. By the way, I spent the weekend climbing in the Himalayas. Amazing views at 20,000 feet. Hope you're finding the aliens friendly and not too fragile. See you soon. Feltar and Commander Theos looked at each other, then at Hana. He climbed to 20,000 feet for recreation? Feltar asked faintly. That's Minho, Hana said with a smile. He loves mountain climbing. Last year he climbed Everest just because he had a free weekend. Commander Theos made a sound like wind through leaves. Most species require life support equipment to survive at altitudes above 3,000 feet.